election clock alarmed noisily, and without any snooze control, in Guyana recently and forced many people, including the leaders of that country and many others, regional and international, out of their extremely comfortable posturepedic beds of roses. Suriname had its anxious moments, and in St. Kitts and Nevis, there are 6 petitions before the court for alleged election offences. An election is imminent in Jamaica, September 3rd, and there is already bad blood, sparring, and jockeying for positions in St. Lucia. You would think that after so many years of self-government, we would have become accustomed to the politicking of the parties and the nitpicking of the candidates as they tear into one another's plans, policies, projects, and personalities. Yet, despite questions about income sources and the huge expenditure on construction projects, considered by the World Bank to be the major mechanism for paybacks to politicians and financiers throughout the Third World, no candidate in any election in the Caribbean ever lost because of corruption, either proven or alleged. Worse, to be a womanizer is the greatest accolade any of the male leaders can receive and makes them almost sure winners, as Eric Gary, Forbes Burnham, and others closer to home have proven. Combating criminals. There are people who believe that the only way to combat criminals is by not voting for them, and that parliamentary terms should move from 5 to 20 years without any possibility of parole or time off for good behavior. However, when there are elections, especially like the one coming up in the United States in November, the big problem is that someone will win. As one of my friends said about the recent elections in Trinidad, if God had wanted us to vote, He would have given us candidates. Recently, I was going through my humor library when I found a book of great American anecdotes with a section on the rules of the game of politics. The chapter starts with a quote by former U.S. Senator Eugene McCarthy: "Being in politics is like being a football coach. You have to be smart enough to understand the game, and dumb enough to think it is important. You also have to know how to be economical with the truth." As Richard Nixon said, "If you can't lie, you'll never go anywhere." Lying is at its best when candidates for elections go bigly for the primary and most applied rule: don't be afraid to create your own myths. In Nixon's case, one of his cousins spilled the beans. The idea that the key to Nixon was his early poverty is ridiculous. The Nixons had a grocery store, 2 cars, and sent their son, Richard, to college. By some, they were considered rich. Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, was taking a group of reporters on a tour of his ranch and came to a forlorn shack. His voice cracking with emotion, he said it was his boyhood home. Then his mother corrected him loudly: "Now, Lyndon, you know we had a nice house over on the other side of the farm." LBJ once told reporters that his great-great-grandfather died at the Battle of the Alamo with people like Jim Bowie. Eventually, the fact-checking proved that the old man had died peacefully at home in bed. Jesse Jackson boasted, "I used to run bootleg, illegal, liquor, bought hot clothes. I had to steal to survive." It turned out to be as bad as Nixon's and LBJ's lies. His father, a postal worker who married Jackson's mother, a beautician, and adopted the 2-year-old Jackson, responded, "We were never poor, and my family never went hungry a day in their lives." Donald Trump is even worse. In an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Trump's biographer, Michael D'Antonio, claimed that Trump had been lying since he was a child, boasting that he was named the ladies' man at a high school that had no women at it. He has been doing this forever. More than a year ago, a Financial Times article by Stephen Gross pointed out, "We all lie, but we don't lie like President Trump. He is the most extravagant, reckless, inexhaustible fibber of our era, the panjandrum of porky pies." Gross tells the weirdest Trump story of all. Between 1980 and 1990, Trump spoke to some reporters pretending to be a John Barron, spokesman for Donald Trump. During these conversations, Barron would praise Trump, inflating his well-taken business success, describing how beautiful women were sexually attracted to Trump, and so forth. Worse, in 2006, Trump and the Melania named their only child Barron. Only examples. While there are concerns about how to deal with the media, there are no rules, only examples. President Truman was the underdog in the presidential election of 1948, which he won despite his opponent, Thomas Dewey, being picked by the political press as the winner. He remarked, "I know every one of those men. Not one of them has enough sense to pound sand in a rat hole." When it was leaked to the media that President Gerald Ford made his own breakfast, the media turned up in force, and the nation reveled in the fact that Ford knew the ins and outs of the White House toaster. When the Sandinistas fired on a press helicopter, President Reagan admitted, "There's some good in everyone." The best was by George Bush, who, after his dog, Millie, had puppies, said, "You may have read that the pups are sleeping on the Washington Post and the New York Times." The first time in history that those papers have been used to prevent leaks. My favorite rule is, never overestimate the intelligence of your audience. George Smathers won a Florida senatorial election by supposedly bad-mouthing his opponent, Claude Pepper, as known all over Washington as a shameless extrovert. Smathers also claimed that Pepper was reliably reported to practice nepotism with his sister-in-law and his sister, who was once a thespian in Greenwich Village. Worst of all, it is an established fact that Mr. Pepper, before his marriage, practiced celibacy. Tony Deyal was last seen saying that he agreed with Thomas Dewey, especially in the case of Donald Trump and several Caribbean politicians, that our future lies before us. Send feedback to columns@gleanagem.com. Let's block ads. Why?
Show your love for him. Click the link in description. Thanks for watching.